All right, Eternals number 2. Yeah, I read this one and I definitely needed your like, wait, what's going on here?
Yeah.
um, and I don't think that's a at fault of. I don't disregard or I don't discount this book because of that. Because
No.
issue 1 was so fucking thick. Like there's a lot going on in issue 1, and so you needed a little bit of a refresher, and I had to do that after I read this book. But Thanos is definitely back. That is not a projection. That is not, at least as of right now, that is not. And there's some definite mystery and intrigue in this book. Um, Essentially, we get the first part of this book is Icarus and Thanos going at it. And I don't have a lot of history of Icarus, right? Am I saying that right? Icarus?
hmm
But I didn't know that they've actually never fought. I guess they've never met. I don't know. I don't.
Yeah. I don't know.
But that's established in this book, and they go at it and they fight. And towards the end of the book, or towards the end of the fight, Icarus gets his head ripped off.
Well, kind
We
of.
think, kind of, but it's actually an illusion by the other Eternal. Well, I can't remember her name.
Sprite.
Sprite. Sprite made an illusion because Icarus was getting his ass kicked. And so, we see this fight. We think Icarus dies. He doesn't. But they get away from Thanos. But the big mystery about this is, well, they find out that Thanos is the one that killed the King of the Eternals. But what they establish in this book is that they say that Thanos is not an Eternal, that he is, a deviant, if you will, but not really. Like, he's like a subsect of Eternals, but not necessarily a deviant. He's just like a mutant of a deviant of a Eternal. Excuse me.
Yeah.
And the question that gets raised is how, they've looked into the logs of the machine, and somebody, whoever killed the King of the Eternals used the jump warps or whatever that the machine can use. Well, Icarus has already confirmed that he killed the King of the Eternals. So is he an Eternal? Because only Eternals can use that gate warping, apparently. And so that's a huge mystery that's put in this book that I'm like immediately like, uh-oh, like we've got some issues here. And just, to me, that was the biggest part of this book, was what we come to find out is like, well, is Thanos an Eternal? I mean, if you use the rules that you're setting, that only Eternals can use the machine, well, he got there somehow, unless somebody else is. And then that's when they come to the point of, did somebody within the Eternals help Thanos to kill the King of the Eternals? And so that's the mystery we get in this book. And I go off it again. I'm not as big of a, let me rephrase this. I'm not dogging this. I am not a super fan of Asad Rivik, but I enjoyed the artwork in this book. I thought it was great.
Yeah, I think the art was a little bit better in this book than it was the first book.
There were a couple panels that I was like, that looks a little rushed, but it was like somebody's eyes, like it didn't ruin it for me.
Yeah, he often does that with eyes. He'll just like leave them blank, and I'm like
blank, or he'll just put like dots, like boop boop, like real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He often likes to do this face a lot.
Dude, that's all. Like, this book is all that. There's one where Sprite is like,
Yeah.
like multiple times in this book.
It's literally prevalent throughout his work. Like, if you'll see it a lot in his Thor run too, with Jason Aaron.
Nice.
So with such mastery, sometimes you have to deal with some.
That's okay. That's okay. It doesn't take me out of the book. If anything, I look for it now, because it does pop up a lot. The other thing that we get in this book is, so after they have some internal conflict amongst the Eternals, and they're trying to figure out who. They are basically coming to terms with the fact that Thanos is not an Eternal.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a mistake. But anyway, they think that somebody within their ranks is helping him, and that's how he was able to use the machine, or Earth, to jump through realities to kill the King of the Eternals. The other thing we get in this book is that the King of the Eternals can't be brought back to life because the machine is broken. And even the machine is like, oh shit, I didn't know that. Like,
I didn't realize I was broken.
Yeah, even the machine is like, throughout the entire book, it's speaking and is like, oh, that's why I'm off. So maybe there is some foul play going on here, and maybe it's not Thanos. Maybe Thanos isn't an Eternal. We don't know. But then at the end of the book, after everyone accuses of each other of being the mole, Icarus is like, well, you know what? I'm dipping out. I got to go find this kid, because in the previous issue, I was by the machine. I was presented this death of this 13-year-old boy that we as readers have no idea what the consequences of this is. We don't know why, but Icarus was shown this and said, I will not let this happen. So he goes and finds this kid and he goes, hey, you don't know who I am, but just to let you know, I'm not going to let you die. And the kid's like, what? And that's how the issue ends. Right?
Yeah.
I read on CBR that they were like, this might actually have the potential to completely upend the Marvel universe, like the timeline.
I mean, I saw it, but I didn't understand where they were coming from.
I didn't either, but I wouldn't put it past the fact that they're probably right, because from my understanding of the character Icarus, he's a hothead, he's stubborn, and he will do whatever it takes to accomplish what he wants to accomplish. And so, like, I guess to me, like, classic time travel / don't fuck with the multiverse rules, if you're presented something that's factually significant within history of time, whatever you want to say, and then you're like, nope, I'm not letting that happen, well, then there's going to be consequence, right? Like, he could potentially fuck up a timeline or a multiverse.
Right.
That could be a stretch. We don't know, but that's what people are speculating. Outside of not knowing, like having to do research for like literally having to go back to issue 1 to figure out what we were just read, I enjoyed this book. I thought it was fun.
Mm-hmm.
And this cover also, I think for me, this is the pick of the week for covers. This cover is fantastic.
Yes. Yeah. That's a very unconventional Thanos, I think. I think that is probably the most human-like Thanos that I've seen.
The detail is so good. Mm-hmm. And that Thanos fight was really cool, man. Like, I didn't want it to end. Like, they were slamming each other and throwing each other, and like it was really cool. So I enjoyed it.